Well, hello. Hold on, I gotta fix this. Hi. I'm starting a little early because I'm not actually going to start. I'm just going to say hello and welcome you to our fourth and final workshop in Boundary Palooza 2019. It's so exciting. So please say hello so I know that you're here. I'm not just talking into the abyss. It would be great to know that you're with me. Say hello. Tell me where you're coming in from. Well, hi. I see all of you. Thanks for the hearts, Bab. Hi, Amanda. Hi, Mystic Megan. How you doing? Aw, hearts. You're so sweet. Welcome. Who else is joining? Ooh, I got you from Croatia. Well, hello, Ivana. Or Ivana. Welcome. Who else is joining? You can see my mic, but I think I got to kind of leave it there so you can hear me. Hello from Sweden. How are you, Mary? Wow, we've got Nairobi in the house. What's up? How you doing, sunshine? We got Germany in the house. Julie said I look beautiful. Thank you. Just how many days in a row can you do your hair? Today I couldn't because I was focused on this. We got North Carolina. We got Oshkosh. I never even knew that was a real place. I actually thought that was just a clothing line of jeans. Hi from more North Carolina people. Right on. Yes. I am like someone's virtual mama soul sister teaching her all the things she never learned growing up. Makes me so happy. That's all I want to do is teach you the things. I'm happy to be your virtual good mama. Happy to do it. It is an honor and a privilege. Trust me. Chicago's in the house. We got Hawaii in the house. It's just 3 o'clock now, so I'm going to wait another minute or so. But I do want to say welcome to those who are just joining us. And I'm going to give you an idea that I'm going to be doing what I've been doing for the past 3 workshops, if you're with us, which is that I'm teaching for about 35 to 45 minutes, and then I will be taking your questions. So remember, today, since it is our last workshop, is especially important that if you have a question that you want me to consider for the end, that you put a couple of question marks in front of it so Team TC can grab it and throw it in a shared doc that we have, because we have a system or I would never get to any of the questions. So remember, a couple of question marks in front of it. Everyone is saying hello, hello. Well, hi from Pittsburgh. How you doing? Hello, Marina. Welcome. It is only 3:01 though, so as much as I am chomping at the bit to get moving, I have a few things to cover before we go. I will tell you what I'm going to be covering today. I'm going to teach you how to avoid the top 3 most toxic, self-sabotaging boundary behaviors that most of you are probably doing right now in your relationship so that you can stop. These are super sneaky. They're mostly invisible, but they're so incredibly important. So if you're just joining us, take a nice deep breath. Why don't we get a little grounded? You might want to pick an intention for this workshop. So I'm going to ask you to gently close your eyes and just take a nice deep breath. And part of your intention I'll ask you to set is that you come to this workshop with an open heart and a beginner's mind to learn strategies, information, or techniques that will lessen your frustration or your suffering and up-level your joy and flow in life. So keeping your eyes gently closed, I'm going to ask you, like I've done in the other ones as well, to just ponder these questions quickly, and then you can drop your answers if you want to share in the comments. When you attempt to draw a boundary or set a limit now, do you ever feel like you need a good enough excuse to do it? Kind of like a rock solid justification for what you're asking for or why you don't want to do something. And the second one is when someone is attempting to tell you something that they don't like, that perhaps you've done, do you immediately want to get into a dissertation about why you did it that way? Why what you did wasn't wrong? Or do you want to point out something that they did that was similar? All right, now you can gently open your eyes. Well, hello, welcome back. And you can drop your answers, if you would, I would love to see your answers. Is that a yes from anyone? Have you ever had either one of those experiences? Della wrote in caps, yes, with a million S's. Always need to justify. Yes and yes. Yes and yes. We got lots of yeses. Yes, yes, yes. All right, I see you. So guess what? You're in the exact right place today, aren't you? Absolutely. Holy hell yes. Kitty says, I justify. Can I get a hell yes? I avoid contact, someone said. I avoid eye contact. Yes, I got you. Yes, but hate confrontation of any kind. Oh, I feel you, Linda. Don't you worry. There are ways in life to fix that. Yes. Okay. Oh my goodness. Yes. I feel you, sunshine. Yes. All right. So we're in a yes. And if some people, right, maybe you just heard about Boundary Palooza. I don't know. Maybe you didn't know who the heck I was. I just got an email from someone who was like, I didn't know who you were. I saw you in Mama Gina's story. You weren't even tagged. I had to literally go find you. And I was so grateful. And then she told me a whole story of how she had this amazing interaction with her ex and didn't justify. And wow. So she was like, literally wrote that. And I super appreciate it. And thanks for tracking me down if you're on here, because Mama Gina didn't make it easy. I appreciate it. So let's say you're new to this. If you don't know me, my name is Terry Cole. I am a licensed psychotherapist and a master coach. I am the founder of Real Love Revolution and Boundary Bootcamp. And before I went to NYU to become a therapist, I was actually running a talent agency for supermodels and celebrities. That's what I did. I negotiated contracts. So my interest in boundaries really came out of a need because I was in this incredibly unhealthy atmosphere. My job, besides getting them a lot of money, was to make sure that everyone had exactly what they needed when they needed it. That could mean that somebody was in Europe and I was in New York. They needed something and it was 3 a.m. my time, and they would call me and I would have to pick up my phone. Running around like that, having no rest, having zero self-care, it was just so bad. I knew that I felt like I was getting sick, like something was going on. I was super unhappy in my life, felt super constricted and very bitter, and really not liking anyone, nobody I worked with or for, I have to say. Couldn't stand my clients at that point. And this created this profound pivot in my life, because life as an agent with no boundaries, working with supermodels and celebrities, ended up with me getting a cancer diagnosis. So that will wake you up. Apparently, I wasn't waking up fast enough for the universe. So it was like, here, maybe I'll throw you down a flight of cancer stairs and let's see if that helps, which it did. Trust me, I woke up. What did I do? Therapy, got boundaries, quit that job, went to school, went to NYU, got my master's, and basically did something that I never would have had the internal boundaries to do, which is to leave a business, a career that everyone else thought was amazing. When I told my father I was quitting to become a therapist, he was like, why would you ever do that? That was a direct quote from Bill Cole. I was like, okay, well, because I want to and I'm not happy. Luckily for me, I didn't need his money to do it. I just took out massive loans. So that really started what I'll call my healthy obsession with mastering the art of boundaries and effective communication, because that is such an important part of that. So why I teach this is because I truly know the struggle firsthand. And whatever you're going through, I know you because I was you, right? Saying yes when I wanted to say no, being last on my own list, having the crappiest self-care ever, because always someone else's need I thought was more important or bigger than my own. Or the most embarrassing part of having no boundaries in my 20s was actually being a bridesmaid 8 times. And half of those times I definitely should have said no, because those people would not have even been invited if I'd had a housewarming party. I didn't even think of that. I was like, oh, it's an honor. I should, how can I say no to the honor? You know? Yeah, so I have a lot of ugly dresses in my closets. That's all I'm saying. So I want to say that I'm honored to be with you today, to share with you what I've learned in my own life, 2 decades being a psychotherapist, basically in the trenches. And I really value your time. Like, I'm so impressed with those of you who committed to show up live. Those of you who are watching this as a replay, all you got to do is put the hashtag replay so I know, because I'll be coming back to the questions later. And listen, You are here for a reason. There really are no coincidences. You want something. You're missing something. You need something. You want to become a boundary boss. And for this grand finale, I'm dropping some serious gems that might just be the opening that creates your important pivot in your life from what you're doing now that might not be working to something so very much better. Because when you learn how to recognize and stop these self-sabotaging behaviors, that will create for you an opening to legitimately be seen, heard, and known. I mean, maybe you wonder now, you're in relationships and you wonder why they abruptly end. Or many of you have told me you're in relationships and you think to yourself, is this how I should be feeling? Is this all there is? And that is a really profound question. And if you have ever thought that, either one of those things, please give me a hell yes in the comments. Have you ever thought, is this how I should be feeling? Have you ever thought, is this all there is? Yes. Okay. I see you. I see you. You have. So you're in the right place. You're with the right crew. And I believe you, I am the right guide and GPS for you. So move into what are the concepts that I'm going to be talking about today and why they're important. Douglas said all the time, I feel you. So the first thing we're going to hit today, the first item up is decoding defensiveness, which you may not even recognize that you're doing in your relationships. There's a fear of being made wrong, a fear of rejection that creates this auto response of wanting to be like, no, I had a good reason to do it. Like the question I asked you at the top. So it's super important to learn how to stop doing that, right? Because why? Because it blocks real communication. So we don't want real communication to be blocked, but that's what happens. And you might be on the receiving end of someone who's very defensive. And how hard is that to try to talk to someone when they're all like, no, but wait, no, because, and you're like, I didn't even finish what I was saying yet. It's just so frustrating. You know that round robin of frustration and you don't want it. So we're decoding that today. The second item up is boundary convincing and context. Because these things are readily confused. And the reality is they're two different things. You might think that you're sharing information with someone to sort of deepen your intimacy around a boundary, let's say, but it's actually you're convincing them. You are convincing comes from a place of seeking approval, of needing them to be like, oh yeah, like you're totally doing the right thing. And context is real information, actual data about you that is super valuable in your relationships. So that one is really, really important. And the third one we're going to be hitting is the difference between compatibility and compliance. Because again, these things feel or can seem so much alike. I can't tell you how many clients and women in my courses who've said, we never fight. We are so compatible. And I'm like, hey, man, the absence of conflict actually does not always equate to true, authentic compatibility. So I just wanted to get it out there. Now, I promise you, I'm going to teach as much as I possibly can. But of course, we all know there's always going to be more to learn. This experience and the entire, if you've done the other workshops too, all of this is really just one step on your journey to becoming a boundary boss. So I want to encourage you to continue this education. If you've gotten a taste for it, if you're like the woman who wrote me and you're like, oh my God, this is what it feels like to be empowered. It's amazing. I want you to continue your education, whether it's with me or someone else, because it's that important, right? I can't hit this all in even 4 60-minute workshops. It is impossible. So at the end of the workshop, I'll be answering your questions and telling you how you can continue your boundary journey with me as your ass kicking and super accurate GPS. So if you're interested in that, I'm going to tell you all about it. So the last thing I'll say about this before we talk, and I'm going to tell you about the pitfalls that people fall into, is that you need to learn the difference between these concepts, because these are the ones that no one teaches you and no one talks about. and you're thinking you're doing the right thing. You might be really working, thinking you're being compatible, but if you're being compliant, you're simply abandoning yourself. So this is super important, which is why I'm teaching them today. And you may be able to learn some of this somewhere, but not all in one workshop, which is why we're putting it here today. And I want you to give yourself the gift of your own attention, this expansive time. So if we talk about common mistakes that people make, because this is so important, because how can you avoid, right, those pitfalls, it's a lack of awareness. So that's really not a mistake. That's just you don't know what you don't know, right? Habitual reactivity, which goes to the defensiveness, where there is no expansion. So all you can do is be like, okay, either I'm ready to fight, I'm ready to run, I'm ready to freeze. Not that you're ready to freeze, but you just freeze naturally. That whole avoidance desire. These are things that, this is a mindset type of thing. And that's what I'm teaching you here. That's what I teach in the course, is how do you actually switch the mindset so that you can be in a responsive space instead of reactive, because this is how we self-sabotage, by reacting, right? We want more awareness. Real empowerment means you have to be able to respond mindfully, because when you do these other things in a reactionary way, what we're really doing is blocking others from actually knowing us. How can anyone ever authentically love you if you never allow them, if you never gain the skills to be voluntarily vulnerable, to understand what that really means? You may think you're doing it, but if you're not, you may go through your whole life and feel like no one ever really knew you, which means no one could ever have really authentically loved you, right? And that's something that we can change by unblocking ourselves. I was completely unaware of my own patterns. I was just going through life like the little boat, and life was the tsunami. I just wanted to get by from one day with celebrities and supermodels to the next without drowning, basically. But that doesn't create a satisfying life or what we want in the end. And of course, as you learn this, even if you take the course, you're going to have 2 steps forward and 1 step back, because that is what transformation looks like. But as long as you're pointed in the right direction, you've got that good GPS, then you're doing the right thing. You're making progress. Again, remember, it's small steps that equal real transformation. So why don't we dive into decoding defensiveness, shall we? We shall. So it might seem obvious to some that defensiveness is a block to effective communication, but the reality is we all do it at times to one degree or another. What I want to teach you today is to get out of the cycle of defensiveness, right? So it's defensiveness and criticism, and it can be so incredibly exhausting in a relationship. But what it does is that it builds up a lot of resentment within the relationship. And what we need in a relationship for it to last and be solid is we need to be building up goodwill, not resentment. And when you have good boundaries and can speak them with ease and grace, you build up goodwill, because people can trust you, whether it's a love relationship or whether it's a friend relationship. So having the most effective communication is really what makes the deepest, most vibrant, the healthiest, truly loving relationships flourish. So part of this is raising your awareness right now. So when problems or conflict arise in your life, when you were growing up, what did you witness, right? How did your parents? Did you come from a system that was very defensive? And it may sound like I'm always going backwards, but I do that because that's where the answers are, because so much of what you're doing right now is your downloaded blueprint. So blaming or cooperation, what happened in your family of origin? Did they communicate, your parents, right? Did they have the ability to communicate effectively with you, with each other? Did you grow up with a very authoritarian home? Because that also creates a profound fear of making a mistake. So the moment someone comes to you to be like, I want to say something to you, you're immediately like turned into your 10-year-old self, who's terrified that like the mean authoritarian parent is going to punish them, right? And if you made a mistake, how was that handled? Were you punished? Were you shamed? Were you humiliated? Were you in trouble? Or were you so afraid, because those authoritarian systems make you so afraid that your whole life is just like, I just want to avoid being the target of anyone's rage. So whatever I need to do to not be that, that's what I'm going to do. Which, trust me, that is not speaking up, expressing a limit or a desire. So that's the beginning of what I want you to start thinking about with the defensiveness stuff, right? And then you have to think about right now, who are you holding resentment against? Because this also creates defensiveness, because it's a cumulative experience, right? You need time for yourself to get clear about who you feel this way about the most. Are there things that you need to talk with people about in your life? Because hidden resentments really do fuel most of the fire for this type of defensiveness. So part of what you're doing is we're just raising the awareness, and you can take some time to really think about it later. I want you to think about your style of communication, because this also leads us to the defensiveness, or the person that you're involved with. Is it a real dialogue, right? Where you talk, then I talk. And with dialogue, think about it this way. When you're actually having a dialogue, you have the desire to know what someone else is saying. You actually want to understand them. When someone is a debater, maybe you're a debater, I don't know, there's just always a win-lose situation. No matter what you're talking about, the other person is like, yeah, but on the other hand, like, you're like, I'm not even done saying what I'm saying. Why are you already on the other hand? Or maybe you do this because debating is also a way of not being vulnerable, right? Because then we can bring up statistics, and we can bring up other past things, and we can talk about, well, they say that, whoever the hell they are, right? But again, this fuels defensiveness, which is why I wanted you to get clear about, are you having a dialogue? Do you have a desire to have a dialogue? Or are you a debater? And basically making the shift from past focused to future focused, especially when things go wrong. We can get out of that experience. If we're the person who's sort of provoking, if you're a big blamer, you're probably provoking this experience in the other person where they're afraid to say something, or maybe they're a big blamer. And if you want to not inspire someone else to be defensive, you can't just say, you did this thing and it sucks, and you suck because you did this thing. This is how we phrase it, as we were talking about setting up a way to have a successful boundary conversation, is if you make a simple request for them to do something different in the future, there's actually hope. So we make the request sort of future focused. It's okay to have a problem with what someone did, but if we just leave it there, that now all we do is add more crap on the pile of resentment, where we're like, well, you did that, that sucks, you suck, that's it. So we also have to be thinking about future, because even if this time things didn't happen the way that you wanted them to, if you can make the simple request for next time, or if you can teach your partner or ask them to, and listen, if they say you did this and that sucked, you can say, okay, I hear that. Please tell me what would have been better for you. How would you like me to have done it? If you're actually interested, right, and the person is trustworthy. I mean, if you're in a toxic relationship, I wouldn't open myself up that way to that person. But this is a way to actually have a dialogue where you're interested in what the other person has to say and how they feel. And this is how we want to interact in our lives with other people. It could be our parents, right? It could be friends, because a lot of this stuff, even though, I use examples of love relationships, because so many of us, that's like one of our biggest, heart's desire is to have that great love. Reality is, this is in all of our relationships that we do these things, right? So as much as defensiveness and how to change it, there's all of this pre-work, just like everything that I've taught you. If you've been in the past 3 workshops, or you're familiar with my work, and that's exactly what we teach in the course, because everything, we do all of our own work first, and then we bring it out into the world. Because if we bring it out into the world first, it doesn't help you. Because even if I told you exactly what to say, all the stuff that is still this unresolved crap that's inside of you, the anxiety and the fear, that gets in the way. So even if you said the right words, what would the other person hear? They would hear your hostility, your anger, your fear, your tone of voice, even if you think you're saying it in a nice tone of voice. If all that internal stuff is not figured out, people respond to our energy. So there's a way, there's an actual strategy, there's step by step to be successful in all of these things that I teach you. All right, we're moving on. Obviously, we hit defensiveness in the course, clearly. All right, the second thing we're hitting today is the convincing and context, the difference between. These things are really easily confused. So back to when we're convincing someone that we have a right to say no to something, to set a limit, to make a simple request for them to be considerate of our time or our money or our resources. What are we doing if we're convincing them? It's like we want their permission. We want them to approve of us. So feel the difference in your body. When we're convincing, what does that feel like? To me, it feels like constriction. It feels like desperation. It feels like I'm saying, please, please, please. It just doesn't feel good. And the reason why we don't want to do it is not only because it doesn't feel good, but because it isn't impactful. It doesn't ultimately get us what we want. And there's something really weird that happens in a dyad, right? Two people. Think about this. When someone is going at you hardcore, think about someone if you're at someone's trying to sell you something and they're like going at you, trying to convince you. Doesn't that just make you not want to buy something? Doesn't it make you want to be like, no, I want to come up with 4,000 other objections because you're so annoying right now. It feels like too much energy. It feels like too much. So that's what convincing feels like. In a relationship with someone who's trustworthy, we want sometimes, and I do this a lot in my love relationship. So what to do instead is to give context. So context might be as simple as, I can't go with you to that party because even though I said I could, because sometimes it's hard to change our mind, even if we said yes, I can't go with you to that party because I am doing something the day before. I have a big meeting the next day. I thought I could do it, but now the thing I'm going to be at before your party is further away than I thought, and I can't. Instead of just saying I changed my mind, right, which would be no context, or if you were trying to convince in that scenario, you might say, I could come, but I'd be exhausted, and I feel like I'm getting sick, and I know you wouldn't want me to be sick. Like we try to manipulate them with the convincing. We try to get them to say, oh, it's okay with the convincing, but without proper context, which is the information of why you changed your mind. In my relationship, sometimes I just changed my mind and I don't feel like it. And I have healthy enough relationships to be able to say, unless it's something very important to someone, and then I wouldn't just change my mind. I would go because I said I would. But if it's something that I know we could do on another day, go see a movie, whatever, I can just say, hey, babe, I'm really not up for it. Can I take a rain check? And if the person then gets really upset, I might reconsider. But if they say, well, why? And just say, you know what? I'm really beat. I've been working really hard and I'm just not in the head to watch a movie. And sometimes I'll offer another alternative. If you cannot go to a movie and you'd be willing to come to my place, then we can be on for like tea and like a pajama party. I'm in. Do you understand what I'm saying? How context creates opportunity to actually problem solve, where convincing really just puts you in the one down power position, and it gives them the power to like approve of you or be mad at you. And when you approve of yourself through this process of really knowing who you are and understanding how to speak up and all the things that I've been teaching you, someone else's disapproval really isn't that devastating. We don't love it. It's not great. It's not my favorite thing, but it's not something where you're like, oh my God, I have to fix it. Alexander said, ding, ding, ding. That makes sense. I'm so glad. Because do you understand though how they seem like the same? They can seem, if you didn't know this distinction, why these toxic things are kind of invisible, is that these are nuances in this process of learning how to become a boundary boss, that unless you really get down in the mud of like what it looks like, you don't know. right? Because you just have this preliminary understanding of like, I have to say something, I don't know how to do it. But these are nuances of ways that make it all so much more easy for you, but also it makes it resonate with the people in your life in a way that is actually authentic to what you're saying, to how you're feeling. This is how we let people actually know us. I know that that makes sense to you, providing context, why we want to do it. And listen, it isn't surprising that it's invisible because a lot of us have been protecting ourselves, defending ourselves, looking for permission to take up space in any room that we're in for so long that how would you know this, right? This is not something nobody taught you in school, I'm pretty sure. Right? Did your parents teach you this? Did anyone ever say any of this? No, I know that they did not, because mine didn't. I mean, I went to school for it. They barely taught it there. Like most of this, I actually learned in the trenches and through my own pain, right? Through my own bad experiences is how I got here. Moving on to compatibility and compliance. This falls in the same category, but it's super different. And this is something that I've gotten so many emails from people trying to understand. I mean, I wrote one post about, I don't even know, 2 months ago, and I got a flood of emails saying, please do something on this. And I actually added it to the course after this and decided I would talk about it here because of the number of people who asked me about it, because they were like, oh my God, compatibility, compliance, I thought they were the same thing. I'm like, they're not. So if we get back into, I'll start with the first one, and then I'll tell you I'm going to tell you what compliance is, because that's the one we don't want to do. And then I'll tell you what real compatibility looks like and how you can achieve it. So compliance is, what does this mean? It means not rocking the boat. How many good girls are here? How many of you were raised to be good girls? Come on, man. Just put me in the comments. If you were raised to be a good girl, if I could do all the things I'm doing and write me, I would. Me, for sure. Yes. And I'm seeing, yes, you're all. Yes. Everyone's like, yes, hand raised. Here I am. It's me. Of course it is, because our parents thought they were doing the right thing, teaching us to be great, to be nice, to be good. But this also means the subtext of all of that is being compliant. It's not rocking the boat. Don't make waves. And then we have all of the other language that we learn. Don't be a drama queen. Don't be high maintenance. Like I could keep going. I'm not going to. You get it. So compliance is something that means we are complying with the will of another. If you look at like, what is the definition? It literally means acquiescing or giving into what another person wants. So that, just because you have no conflict, as I said at the top, does not mean that you are truly in a relationship where you are compatible. It might just mean that you very badly have the disease to please, or that you've been so habitually trying to avoid, right? Those of you, if we went back to those of you who did the boundary styles, those of you who are the pushover, if you're the peacekeeper, if you're the chameleon, you would really, really fall into this category of compliance being a total way of life. And it is not a way to build the relationship that you want. So let's see, what are the things? Conflict avoidant, codependent, suffering from the disease to please, auto-accommodating, right? If you're doing that all the time, many of you know what it is. Okay, it's too long and I don't have enough time to get into it now, but it's basically always thinking about where you can make someone else's life easier, even if it's on a plane. You guys can sit together. I don't mind. I'll sit in the middle seat next to these two smelly people. That's auto-accommodating at your own expense. Again, it's all about abandoning self to keep the peace, right? Moving out of the way. Someone just said, like, standing on the subway, you're trying to get out of the way of all these people all the time when no one else is caring that they're squishing you, right? They don't care that they're on their phone. They got their legs wide open, right? Taking up all the space on the subway. And you're trying to get as small as possible, moving into the corner. This is all about compliance. And it can create the illusion of compatibility. Again, how many clients have said, we never fight? I'm like, that might not necessarily be the thing that you think it is. Naya said, oh, I do that. Yes, I understand. Yes, everything is fine. Of course it is, right? Of course it is. All things are fine when you're compliant. Obviously, in life, everything is not fine. So let's look at what actual compatibility looks like. It's mutual. Compatibility means we have to take both people into account. There's got to be mutuality and needs being met, other people's and yours, the other person, right? This is authentic participation by both people. Cooperation, caring, holding each other in high esteem. That's compatibility. Kindness, mutual desire for the other person to be happy and get their needs met, among other things. So if this never happens, if you really think about it, I'm going to ask you to do it right now in your life. If you really think about your own, are you compliant or compatible in the relationships that you're in right now? If you never ask to listen to what you want on the radio because the other person always hogs it, or because you never needed to do it, you never said it. If you always just say, it's good with me, everything is fine. Or if you say, hey, I'd really like to have, Thai food tonight. And the person's like, yeah, I don't want that. I want something else. If you never negotiate, because some people aren't so bad, but you give it up super easy. You're like, that's cool. That's cool. Not a problem. No problem. No worries. I mean, could we come up with 4,000 auto statements that we say, again, to avoid conflict, to avoid a hard conversation, to avoid being rejected? We don't want to be vulnerable. But all of those things get in the way of you actually building and creating real compatibility. And we want to look at the fact that this is also different from, I'll bring in a third thing, it's different than having chemistry with someone, right? So how about chemistry? If you met someone, you've had like this fire, you're like, wow, this person is my soulmate, we have so much chemistry. Chemistry is not the same as compatibility, because that's like pheromones, right? That's like unconscious communication that's going on. A lot of times that happens when we're younger in life, but falling madly in love with someone that you've known for 12 hours, right? Do we know that we're compatible with that person? No, but we know we have a deep sexual desire to make out with them. Yes, they're different things. So again, this is how like lust and love can feel very similar. Chemistry and compliance are mistaken for real compatibility all the time. But you have to do the inventory before you create it in your life. Ask yourself all the questions that I've given to you. Really think about, are your needs being met in your relationship? And are they not being met because you're not being able to ask them to be met because you're afraid to negotiate for them? Or you've asked for them to be met and the person simply doesn't want to, isn't willing, is like, no, I don't care, And part of it is that we're so afraid to find that out about people sometimes. Like when we've been in a relationship for a long time, we're afraid, if I change the dance, will I really discover that this person is like not willing to do crap to make this relationship good and actually doesn't give a shit if I get my needs met. They just want me to keep playing the role and doing what it is so that their needs can keep getting met. And you might be pleasantly surprised that your person might be so psyched when you start making a simple request. Things might change. I've had so many women who've come through Boundary Boot Camp, the course, who've been like, I'm shocked. I never knew that my husband was so giving. I didn't know that my wife was so in tune with what I wanted. I just never told them what it was. I mean, one lady had this great story. Her husband was kind of like a cowboy type of person and didn't talk very much. But she started doing this in small ways. And it's almost like being like, it would really make me happy if you'd kind of be my hero if, and I don't mean manipulating the person, but these were her own words. This is how she did it, and he couldn't wait to go to the store and get her favorite thing. And he couldn't wait to have a date night with her. And she literally said, and then wrote me a private thing later, and I'm not using her name, and she said I could tell the story, that they had like mediocre sort of perfunctory sex for the past like 15 years. They'd been together for 20 something. And she said, once this shifted, that there was this new passion with them, that they had a date night and then actually had sex in the back of his pickup. I guess they live somewhere that's very country or Western, or I don't even know where you would be able to do that, where nobody would find you. But I just thought it was the sweetest thing. And I was like, she's like, my mind is blown that I've been with this person and I thought I knew him so well. I thought he was quiet and that he didn't actually care. And she's like, wow, I really shortchanged both of us and I'm super psyched. Anyway, and obviously, did she do that in a 1-hour workshop? No, she didn't. She did it in an 8-week course because we need time. We need repetition. We need to keep doing these things to let them sink into our bodies. Because at first, when you start learning this stuff, at least for me, I was like, oh my God, never. No way. I cannot see doing that. That is impossible, And everything feels impossible until you can see like the first step. And that starts to create the possibility. So those were the 3 things, but I want to move into basically a little quick visualization that we're going to do because I want you to feel that feeling. So please just indulge me. Gently close your eyes. Because this is how we're going to just start to envision this new boundary blueprint. How would it look? How would it feel if you could do this with ease and grace? So just close your eyes and imagine saying no with ease and grace. Handling a narcissistic in-law, no problem. Knowing how to basically rock your tai chi in a verbal way, like you're ducking and there's nothing for them to push up against. See yourself being confident. Imagine that you could do this. Visualize it right now without drama, without ever saying the words, I need to talk to you, to anyone. Because when you really get these techniques and these tools, it's not a confrontation. It is simply a conversation. It is an actual dialogue. So I really want you to see yourself. How do you look? Can you see the confidence and the competence shining? Visualize yourself like you've got a golden light pouring off every part of your body. And see yourself smiling. And I'm going to ask you to try to conjure those feelings in the middle of your chest. What does that feel like? Expansive. It's easy. You can count on you to not abandon you. And you can do it with ease, with grace, with kindness, and when appropriate, with love. Imagine that the right amount of firmness just comes to you with ease and grace. You just know it. It's like it's integrated in your cells. That is a different experience. And I want you to memorize this feeling right now. This is you in your highest boundary boss form, floating through life, not having any people that being around them terrifies you or fills you with dread. So let's take one last deep breath so you can have that feeling sink in. Now just bring your attention back to your body, back to the room that you're in. Well, welcome back. How does that feel? Can you see? It feels like confidence, Colleen said. No fear. It feels peaceful. Yes. Imagine. Della said it would be freaking amazing. Yes. Amazing. And it's possible. Listen, you can do this. Right? There's so many questions that we've handled today and over all the other workshops. If you've been here, if not, you can still see them. We've had more than 10,000 questions throughout these 10 days. That's how much of a problem this is for women, not just women who are here live, women around the world. With questions like, how do I draw boundaries in a long-term relationship if I never have? Questions like, how do I draw boundaries with my narcissistic mother-in-law? She's awful. How do I set questions in the beginning of a new relationship? How do I let it be known so that I don't end up in some boundary fix later? Listen, I knew that boundaries were a huge issue for women when I started teaching the one module that I had in my other signature course, Real Love Revolution. And the women, it was overwhelming. The women were like, I need more. There's not enough. Please, I need it. That actually, the first year that I did, which was 3 or 4 years ago that I did Real Love Revolution, is when I created Boundary Bootcamp and I launched it the next year. From those women, I got all of their input. What did you need more of? They were like, time. There's no way I could do this in a week. And I was like, okay, I need a longer course. I'm going to do it in 8 weeks. So I know you have all of those questions. I've seen all of those questions before. And when I was learning these techniques years ago, what I was saying before about imagining is that I could not imagine myself doing it with certain people, especially like my father, someone who I'd never spoken to that way before. I was so afraid of him, right? I needed so much help with the actual words. And even once I had them, I was like dripping sweat out my armpits. Like it was so terrifying to me that it was almost like my childhood trauma around my father being who he was would just get kicked up. And every time I thought about it, I felt like I would throw up. It took years in therapy before I could actually talk to him in this way. And eventually, of course, I got to it. But you have your own unimaginable scenarios right now where you're like, I don't know. I tried to picture it during that visualization. I can't picture it. But that's why you need time and repetition to go from imagining it in your mind to doing it in your real life. And this takes time. So these unanswered questions, feedback from that course, those participants, my own life experiences is why I created this virtual course for you that I'm going to tell you about right now. And I know some of you already feel overwhelmed, like forget it. It's too many things, too many of these things to do. I'm already overwhelmed, but I want to tell you that when you have a map, a step-by-step guide, it is so much less overwhelming, right? That's the worst part, being in the not knowing, being in a conflicted situation and just being like, I have no idea what to do. Do I walk out? Do I punch this person in the face? Do I say nothing? Do I just freeze? Do I wake up tomorrow and act like it didn't happen? Because we do all of those things. But when you have the map and you're like, okay, the first is raising my awareness, right? That's it. That's the first thing that I'm going to do. That's the first pillar. That's the first thing I'm going to learn about. Oh, look, and someone's guiding me as to where exactly is that information that I need? Because I will be guiding you to that information. And you can do it because, listen, nobody is born knowing this stuff. Even when I taught you today, right? This is just the tip of the iceberg, and everything that I've taught in these last 10 days. For those of you who've been here for the full ride, thanks for hanging in. But that's the tip of the iceberg. Most of us, think about it in life, we got approval for having crappy boundaries, right? Our crappy boundaries of just being like, okay, whatever you want, we were rewarded. But that is definitely not rewarding in our adult lives. But I know that you can learn, right? Because I'm not so special. I'm not so different. And no offense, neither are you. I learned, and then I've taught thousands of women all over the globe. And if they can learn, you can. So no matter where you've been, no matter what you've experienced, no matter how hopeless you have felt, I'm telling you, you're in the exact right place at the exact right time in your life. I've created a method and a toolbox that basically takes all the guesswork out of it. You just got to be willing to take the steps and basically let me guide you. Because the truth is, you could take 5 to 10 different courses that covers all of the things that I do, from how do you talk about it, language, to psychological courses of let me talk about my childhood, all of those things, which would cost you thousands of dollars. But I promise you, there is no one-stop shop out there like Boundary Bootcamp, because I've just done it. So let me get to telling you what is in this beautiful, my course baby that I think you're going to love. We have 7 video modules, right? So these are already done. This is what you get when you enroll: the framework to create the changes that you want. It's all about communication, setting boundaries, language, 7 therapeutic meditations. Why do I have that in all of my courses? Because I want to hit your unconscious mind and your conscious mind, because this accelerates the process of integrating what you're learning. We have the integration exercises. There's at least 7, probably a few more, because what are we doing? We're taking that intellectual learning, the understanding, and personalizing it and making it actionable in your real life, which is what you need. We have 7 of the Q&A live streams, so I'll be live with you. So some of the stuff is already recorded. Those are the lessons. And then we're live together every week for an hour where I answer your questions. We have weekly bonus videos, because every time I learn something new and groovy, I'm adding it to the course, because I never stop learning. So why should you? We have a whole bunch of real life boundary story videos where I lay out case studies of other clients' personal stories to illustrate how you apply it in real life, because a lot of people really need stories to learn. Even if I break it down really well, I feel like the stories really add value. You have access to our members only private community where I answer your questions. And there's 100% money back guarantee within 14 days of the start of the course. And of course, there's stipulations, because if you come to the course and you do the work, so the money back guarantee is really about you doing the work. If you do the work and you hand in everything for modules 1 and 2, and you can honestly, with true sincerity, tell me that nothing changed within your heart, your life, nothing changed, I will give you your money back. But I doubt very seriously, because that's how sure I am of this course and what I've created, that will happen. But it gives you sort of the feeling that you can go in there and do your very best. And if it doesn't work for you, I'll give you your money back. You have lifetime access to the course. Why do I do that? People say, don't do that, you could make more money. No, I do that because you will be going back to this material for the rest of your life. When we change the course, you come back to it, you get access to the new things, not the bonuses, but anything that is core content that I change. Let's say you do the course now, and then 2 years from now, I add something else. You have access to that as well, because we're always evolving. This is a lifelong experience. So I want you to have access to it for your life. You can, we give it to you in a lot of different ways, because some people like to watch. Some people, I have everything transcribed. So maybe you just like to read. Maybe you don't want to watch a video. Maybe you'd like to read the information, the lesson at work. The transcription is there. You can download it. You download the meditations. You can have them on your phone, because you're busy. I'm busy. So I just did it the way that I wanted it to be done for me. Make it as easy as possible. And last but not least, of course, we have the most amazing team. You have amazing customer support with Team TC, because nobody does it better than us. And you all who have been with us know this to be true. So that's not it. That's the core content. Yay. Moving into what are the bonuses? Because you have to have a bonus. You want a bonus, don't you? You do. Boundary Bible. This is where I put every friggin' thing, every script you could ever need, every scenario, every strategy of people who asking intrusive questions, whoever you need to confront, there's got to be a strategy in there. And people always ask, can I buy it? No, you can't. If you join Boundary Bootcamp, it comes along with your enrollment, with your membership, right? But I don't sell it separately, even though I can. You know why? Because if you don't do the rest of the work, it won't help you. So I don't want to put out something subpar. You need the rest of it. You've got to get down there into that unconscious material. The second big bonus is the Hello Goodbye Speed Course. Do you ever get caught in a conversation that you can't stand? Do you ever get caught out somewhere seeing someone else like that? You're like, oh my God, you see your ex, you don't know what to do. Do you ever get caught? This is what I wish I had when I was in my 20s, which is why I created it for you. I hated, I felt so rude if I wouldn't say hello to my mother's friends and talk for 20 minutes. I'm like, oh my God, stop. This is Hello Goodbye Speed Course. It's basically how you cannot get stuck in anything you don't want to be doing, right? This, again, could be a standalone product, but I don't let it be, because I want your experience in Boundary Bootcamp to be so filled with value. It is a hell yes. It's an easy yes. Number 3, quick tip video guide library. This is how to set boundaries with weird neighbors, frenemies, if you're in a blended family, as an empath, as a highly sensitive person, with addicts. Because here's the thing, I did this as a separate thing because I wasn't taking a chunk of the course to handle this, because not everyone has addicts in their life. But I didn't want to leave out the people who are empaths, are highly sensitive people, have addicts in their life, have frenemies. I wanted to make sure that I covered that for you. Again, you can't buy this outside of the course either. And the last big fat bonus is my Indecisive No More online course, which I created for you because so many of you have said, I just can't make a freaking decision. And this has to do with internal boundaries, not knowing yourself well enough, but it's painful as hell to be stuck in that purgatory of indecision all the time, second guessing everything that you do. It sucks so bad. So I created a course so it would suck less for you. And no, you cannot buy that anywhere except get it right here. So listen, you guys know what you want. You want to become a boundary boss. You know it. This is why you're here. This is why you've been hanging out. So you can choose the complicated, labor-intensive way, take 10 different courses for 10 grand. You can get into therapy for 10 years, for 5 years, or like me for 30 years and spend $250,000. You can maybe get a coach, right? You can get a coach, and that would also be, how much would it cost a year? Even if they were cheap, that would be 10 grand. There are lots of ways that you can do this. Or you can do it an easy way, right? Because what really happens if you look at doing it the hard way or not doing it at all, it's not just the financial cost, it's the emotional cost. What does it cost you in your life to never be authentically known? That shit is too high. That cost is too high. You can't live your life for other people. So it isn't just a money thing. It is an emotion thing. What is the emotional cost of staying invisible? Trust me, my friend, it is too high. Or you can, come in here. Many of you have tried to work with me privately. Maybe you have money. Maybe you would like to do that, but you can't, because this is the only way that anyone can work with me. I have a few high profile clients. I have a company that pays me 10 grand a month to be on retainer, but that's not for you, right? It wouldn't cost you. I couldn't charge you nearly that much. It would be unfair, right? So this is the only way, just so you know. This is tried and true. This has been tested. I've been doing this for 22 years. I came up with the most intuitive way for you to do it so that you will be successful no matter what you come to this course knowing, in literally saying yes to the course, saying yes to you. All right, so at this point, you're like, okay, my God, just tell me, what is the investment? I want to know. You can start today for as little as $97 if you want to do the 10-pay plan. So that's $97 a month for 10 months. Or our best deal is this one-time payment of $797, and that you would do today. And that also gives you a bonus of 2 additional integration calls with me. And they're different than the other calls because these are on video conferencing where I can see everyone and you can all see me. You don't have to be seen if you don't want to be, but it's a little bit more personal. And I do it towards the end of the course to really make sure that you have this stuff integrated. For those of you who know you want to do it, I've had so many, I literally have over 1,000 people on the waiting list for the course. So I know that I'm speaking to the choir somewhere. So if you want to do it, you go to terrycole.com/do it. Literally, that's what it is right now. And that's going to take you to the order form. I'm going to tell you more because I'm super excited for those of you who stayed, who stuck it out, who stayed on here with me. I created another bonus that I alluded to the other day that, oh my God, I'm so incredibly excited. I don't want to sound like that Ginzu knife commercial where they're like, wait, there's more. But you know what? There is more. I created a brand new course called No Narc. Oh my God, it's an online course. You will learn to take back your power to create a joy-filled life. You people inspired me to create a course on narcissism. And actually, it's not just narcissism. It's dealing with people who are super self-absorbed. So yes, narcissism and people who are super selfish and super self-absorbed, because you know, and I know that living with a narcissist, whether it's your boss, your mom, your lover, your friend, is so painful. It is literally living hell on earth. So what does this do? It dominates your mind and really prevents you from living your own life. You're just living to avoid being in hell with that person. So this is going to give you what you need to get out of that hell, but it's only available if you're on here live and you purchase by midnight tonight. Then this is going away because this one I am going to be selling on my website because so many people have asked me to create one. So, but I was so excited to just give it to you, to just want you. If you join the course, I'm giving it to you. So now let's hit all your cues that have come in. Team TC is on here answering questions about the course. These 10 days have been amazing for me. It's been awesome. It's not done yet because we still have time. I am going to go over because I promised that I would answer questions and I'm going to. So let's do it, shall we? Moving into where are my questions? Here they are. So how do you deal with negative anger response to expressing your boundaries? Also saying it's your fault that I'm angry, blah, 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 because you ruined my day, said Anne Marie. So how do you do that? Well, part of it is you learn to not take it on. Someone can blame you all they want, and people will, but you can basically say, I'm not taking that on. It's your fault. You can say, actually, I'm not that powerful, Bob. So your feeling state, I actually don't have the power to make you feel. Obviously, you don't like what I'm saying, but what I'm doing is actually just taking care of myself, which is my job. So you can respond to the boundary request by saying yes or no. But it feels to me that you're getting angry to try to make me stop asking for what I want or what I need, which I'm not going to do. So part of it is just don't take it on. Be like, that is not mine. And, that takes time and repetition to learn to be able to do it. So hold on. Yes. Doris said, can you give some tips on working from home boundaries? Of course I can. So you need to set up a rules of engagement, right? Just like I've gotten all my courses and everything that I do, you need a rules of engagement for your home office. You have to have cute little signs that you put in front of your computer, especially if you have kids, that say, mommy's working. And they know what that means. That means maybe you have a babysitter there, maybe there's someone else that's there, but you have to set the people in your life up to succeed and your internal boundaries. So maybe you get stuck in the Facebook hole. Maybe you're supposed to be working, but instead you're doing something else. So what I'm going to say to you is you've got to do that thing where you can't be online or you've got the timer. So maybe how I do it when I'm writing the book is I have 45 minutes of work and then I put on the timer 15 minutes of whatever I want to do. So I give myself 15 minutes to go. If I want to do social media, I can do it. If I want to get a snack, I can do it, make some tea. But then I come back to the timer and I am dedicated to that timer, and that because I need structure. Working from home is very challenging if you come from the corporate world, right? And so you probably do too. All right, moving down to the next one. All right, hold on. How do you trust yourself if you've been raised by and seem to have attracted narcissists in your life? Well, my dear, it's really learning more about narcissism and understanding your ingrained patterns, right? We have all this compassion for the child within us when we do this type of work. And if you didn't even know you still have a child within you, trust me, you will if you end up joining the course, because this is very important work that I do with clients for many years. And some of what we do in the course, which is understanding that when in the moment, we don't have words and we feel like a child, that means that there is something that is unresolved in there. So to stop attracting narcs, I always say to anyone who's in Boundary Bootcamp, if you're not in a relationship, any of my courses, I always say, maybe wait to start dating again until we're done. It's only 8 weeks. It's only 2 months. I mean, you don't have to. That is just a voluntary suggestion that if you want to take it, you can take it so that you can more deeply understand why you've been attracting narcissists or unavailable people or whatever it is that's been happening in your life. Make sense? So I can't tell you all the stuff because you need to do the deep dive first, Okay, when will there be another Real Love Revolution course and the dealing with narcissists happening? So Real Love Revolution actually doesn't start until February of 2020. That is when the course starts, and I'll be starting all of the workshops or whatever free content that I'll be giving you that leads up to, that gets us primed and excited to actually do the deep dive work. We'll probably be starting that mid-December. Most of January, I'll be doing Wednesday Wisdoms about it and all of that. So you can still join it. And I haven't decided yet when the narcissist course is going to be released. It'll probably be early in 2020 or spring of 2020. All right, there you go. That was great. You're saying something to me? All right. Can I do Boundary Bootcamp if I have complex PTSD, or does that need to heal first? I would say if you have not had any professional help with this, or you feel like you're still in a very triggered state a lot, then I do not think this course or any online course that deals with any unconscious material is appropriate for you. So it really depends on how much work you've already done. But thank you so much. And you can always ask. And also those of you, if you have a therapist and you want to know if you should do this, ask your therapist. Show them what we're doing and ask your therapist, because they will know you better than someone else. And so many of the people who've come here, you've told me, your therapist told you to come to my site and to do my stuff. So I feel very proud to be therapist approved. Okay. Do you do a communication course? Well, that's a great question, and that is in the works right now. So I don't have one currently outside of both of my major courses, because communication is a major component in Boundary Bootcamp, and Real Love Revolution, both of them. Someone said they were looking at the dates. So it said the first date is the 2nd of October. That's the first meeting. It's just an informational meeting, but it says I'm going to be traveling on the 2nd of October. Can I still take the course if I'm going to miss that? And I might miss another live because I travel for work. Everything we do, of course, is recorded. And don't worry, actually, the 2nd is just an informational meeting so that you get the lay of the land, you know exactly what you're doing. And if you miss any of the other ones, because a lot of people, I have people all over the world. If you live in Australia, it might be 4 a.m. for you. I don't know for when we're going to be meeting. So we meet at 1 p.m. on Wednesdays, starting on the 2nd of October. And, you know, you'll get all of that information that you need. So yes, you can do the course. No, it doesn't matter. And I've had tons of people do the course and they've never once done a live. And sometimes they don't want to. They're happy to do it all after the fact. You'll still get all the goods, right? You still get all the information. So here we go. Moving into which day of the week. Okay, so we got it. Wednesdays at 1 p.m. And we go. How about a course to unearth unhealthy patterns many times we're not aware of? You know, a lot of that we do actually in the Boundary Bootcamp course. So for me, I like doing things that are complete as possible, so that you don't have to take one course and pay this money and take that course and pay that money. They all go together, because if you have difficulty with communication, let's say, or you don't know your downloaded patterns, I promise you, you have difficulty with boundaries and in your relationships, which is what both of the courses deal with, which is why I don't do it piecemeal, because I wanted you to have a one-stop shop, basically, to get the most out of it. All right. How do you set boundaries as an introvert, especially with regards to avoiding telephone conversations? I hate talking over the phone so much. Well, you know what, Nitya, what I would say is that you can gently, because if you're an introvert, it's going to be maybe a little more challenging for you, but you can gently tell people that your preference, and you can do it by text. Just say, hey, if they say, hey, let's talk on the phone, and you say, hey, you know what, I would actually rather either meet in person or text back and forth. That's more comfortable for me. I don't love the phone. Why not just say I don't love the phone? I was a therapist for years. I hated talking on the phone. I was always like, no, man, it's what I do all day. I come home from talking for 15 hours. I don't want to talk at all. And that's okay. So slowly is how you do that. And you do it with making a generous assumption that the other person doesn't know your preference because you haven't told them. So we're going to assume that they're going to care that you feel that way. And actually, before you even do that, though, there's a part of me that senses that you don't feel like you have the right to do that. But you really do. You really do. Like, is it okay? Other people's preferences are not your preference. Exactly right, Iraq. Balance is so necessary, and it's a process. Yes. And when we're talking about balance, in this scenario, we're talking about balancing what the other person wants and what you want. And if you're trained that what the other person wants is more important than what you want, it's just so easy, because we're afraid to be like, all right, it's fine, I'll talk on the phone. But you don't want to. And what happens is we're really not doing a service to them either, because they don't know that we're kind of copying a little resentment. We're feeling a little annoyed with them for wanting to talk on the phone, although we haven't told them we don't like to talk on the phone. Do you see when people are clueless? Usually it's because we haven't given them a clue. So this is how you could do it, but gently. And you can do it as slowly, as slowly as you need to, you can do it. All right. Here you go. How do you deal with conflict or confrontation that is getting nowhere except escalation? At what point do you agree to an impasse? Tay's like, I think of it differently. If something is starting to get heated, I definitely hit the timeout button. I just say, hey. And I have tons of scripts for what you say. Hey, I do want to resolve this, but not like this. You know why? Because we're both better than where this could be going. So I'm going to take a timeout. go get some water. Why don't we meet up later and talk about this when we're more calm? Like, that's having the courage to actually step up for the relationship. Because every time you get into a knockdown drag out with someone, you're scratching away at the foundation of the relationship. And it becomes more and more fragile the more that happens. So really, it's an act of love. When we have the courage to be like, no, man, I'm not doing this because I know, because we're better than this. And because I know we can do it better. But maybe we need to wait till cooler heads prevail. And if you're never going to agree, listen, if an impasse, then you have to decide. That's information for you, right? That's information for you. If you have many things that you're at a total impasse, maybe you're actually not compatible. And you have to decide, how unsatisfied are you willing to be in your life? Because that's really what we're talking about. All right, other questions. Hold on. How do you deal with conflict and confrontation? Okay, no, I already hit that one. Hold on. All right. I'm not going to hit the narcissist one because you actually, if you do the course, you're going to get a whole course on it. So you'll be able to do it. Moving on to, hold on, there were some at the top. I grew up in an authoritarian household, says Jillian. What is the best way to set boundaries with an explosive sister? Currently, I stopped talking and during the incident, so she cools down and then let it be. Is this a good approach? Well, here's the thing. You're doing a dance with her. She knows you're going to do that, right? So part of me is that you have to point it out. Maybe not in the moment with someone who's explosive. I never do. I try not to do it in the moment. I try to just de-escalate is usually my number one thing I want to do when something's getting super hot. And then later, if the person goes home and whatever, and you can say, listen, I've seen this pattern that when I try to talk to you about something that's important to me, it escalates until I'm almost afraid you're going to punch me. And then I become silent and then you act like it's okay. And then we never handle it. I do not like this pattern because it makes me not want to tell you things. And I really love you. And I really value our relationship. So it bums me out. So are you willing to try to work on doing it differently? Do you see what I mean? Like maybe that's not your exact right script, but do you get how in the moment when someone is already seeing black because they have anger issues, you being like, by the way, you always do this is really going to escalate it. But you also stuffing down your feelings and being silent and continuing to do that, that is not good for you. That is resentment. That creates cortisol. You've got adrenaline flooding your system. Nah, there's a better way that you can slowly but surely get into a better dance. Because you know what, babe? You're doing 50% of that dance that you just said you don't like. You're doing half of it. And she reminds you of someone. You had some other angry, explosive person in your life. So just figure out what that is. And that's where you figure out the boundary blueprint. Because it didn't just happen. She didn't fall off the tree like that. She learned that behavior. You know? All right. Hold on. Other people have questions. Where are we? What do you do in a group setting if you set a boundary with an in-law after they've made an inappropriate remark and then the other in-laws in the room start taking shots at you or attack your character in the other's defense? Oh, Rhonda, that sounds like a situation I would just want to get the hell away from. So I would honestly, in that situation, I know it sounds dramatic, but once you start doing this, things will change. I would honestly say, you know what? This is not healthy. I feel like this is damaging my relationship with all of you. I do not want to do this. So I'm going to politely take my leave. I would just get the hell out, honestly. And then I would have a separate conversation later with the mother-in-law or whoever the hell it was who started the whole thing. But a group situation, defending yourself in a group situation, I feel like doesn't work. It like feels like being defensive. And then it could actually get like hot. Like you might say something that you can't walk back from, which would be not the best to do probably if this is your in-law that you're married to someone that you're staying married to. But there's a way. Listen, you can learn how to, right? Someone just said on the side, what is the link again? Okay, I'm sorry. That's terrycole.com/do it. Just do it, would you? Anyway, so I hope that was helpful. Sometimes the best boundary that we can create in a rough situation is physically removing ourselves. And I don't mean being withdrawn in anger and sitting there pouting. I mean physically saying, I don't want to do this with you guys. This isn't good. This feels bad. And I don't want to be disrespectful. And I'm sorry if what I said offended anyone. I needed to leave anyway, but I'm going to leave a little bit earlier. Like, you can try to normalize it, you know? All right. What if I cannot start until December? Well, you can purchase the course now, and because you have lifetime access, you can do it anytime you want. So that would not change it for you. Or I do this course once a year. I only do it once a year because it's so much involvement for me, and I'm writing a book, so I couldn't possibly. People are like, you have signature courses. Why don't you launch them 4 times a year? I'm like, what are you, crazy? Once a year. So if you don't do it now, it will be next year that you can do it. And I think for those of you on the fence, for those of you who are like, I don't know, I think you have to think about what's going to change in your life if you don't do something. And as I said before, it doesn't have to be me, but you got to do something different if you want to have a different result, right? Something. There has to be, in therapy land, we call it some kind of intervention that changes what's happening. Because if you keep doing the same thing with the same people, you will get the same result. I mean, unless they take a boundary bootcamp course, I don't know, that could change it, but it's probably not that likely in your life. Michelle said, my mom dominates and screams at my father and the rest of our family. I don't know if I should confront her or just cut her off. Do you have any advice? Well, you know, Michelle, I don't know enough about your situation to tell you, other than when someone starts screaming, that's your cue to kindly take your leave. You can warn your mother on the phone if she starts screaming, hey, mom, I'm just telling you that this is bad for my health. So if you insist on screaming, I'm going to say goodbye. I'm not going to hang up on you. I'm going to say goodbye, but then I'm hanging up. And then you have to follow through. This is in the course when we handle drawing boundaries and attaching consequences, right? If you actually want something to change, you've got to be willing to actually do the consequence. So we think about consequences very specifically, very intentionally. We don't make threats that we're not going to keep, because that weakens our boundaries further. That weakens our word. People don't trust you. They're like, oh yeah, she's just mad. She's never going to do that. So we really choose what we're going to do. And so we start with smaller consequences, because a lot of times people who scream like that, narcs, they're bullies. And a lot of times if you actually just take an action, have you ever confronted a bully? A lot of times they're like, wait, no, I didn't mean, I said that, no, I was thinking, you know what I mean? You're like, no, like they will crumble unless they have a cluster B disorder, and then maybe they'll lose their mind. I don't know, which is why it's important to know who you're dealing with in your life. All right, Tracy, where am I at? Am I still here? Am I?
More questions.
More? Two. All right, I have 2 more questions I'm going to take, you guys. Woo! Oh, and I have people sending me love notes. Thank you, Terry. After watching the past 3 videos and applying them, I feel so empowered. I'm definitely doing the course. Right on. I'm so happy that you are. I've been getting so many more boundaries this past week from listening to these lessons from Durham, North Carolina. You are welcome. I have no relationships since I pushed everyone away because it hurt too much. But dying of loneliness, so I need these tools. Yes, you do. I don't want you to die of loneliness. It's terrible. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't wait to do the course. Right on. I can't wait to welcome you in the course. This is so good, Terry. Thank you. I'm 59, and in the last 2 years, I finally discovered learning what I need to know. Boundaries. I am so enjoyed this. From Dover Gardens, South Australia. I am in. All tears. This workshop rocks, says Della. All right. I love it. Right on. So let me tell you who is, give me the names. All right. So we already see people who are joining. Dana has joined. Welcome to the crew. Those of you who've been waiting, there was a whole 800 of you, or 1,000 of you, actually 800 2 days ago, and then 1,000. This has been awesome. I'm so glad you guys liked it. Right on, right on, right on. Brenda has joined. Welcome to Boundary Bootcamp 2019. I'm so excited to get moving. And those of you who join the course right now, you're going to see that there are things that you can do immediately. We immediately invite you to our community. And I'm giving you things to do. We've got a bunch of getting to know you. We've got other bonuses we put in, different things that I've done that we think you might enjoy, that will up your boundary intelligence before we even get into the course. So don't worry. It's not like we let you in and then it doesn't start until October 2nd. You're like, what up, crickets? Like, what am I doing for this period of time? We've actually really curated lots of good stuff for you to do between now and starting, because I don't want you to lose the momentum that you've gained over Boundary Palooza. That's the point of Boundary Palooza, right? Is to get you into the frame of like, all right, I can do it. I am going to put my stake in the ground with the universe and be like, I'm ready to change. I'm ready to learn. I'm ready to grow because I want more for myself, because I want to be known, right? I want to really add value to other people's lives. And if we're so busy just basically playing out our unresolved childhood crap, it's really hard to do both of those things. Because you know this, those of you who told me about the auto accommodating stuff, so many people wrote being like, oh my God, I cannot believe how much bandwidth I have now that I'm not auto accommodating every 3 seconds of the day for someone I don't even friggin' know in a beauty salon, right? Those are the changes that we're talking about, getting your bandwidth back. So there's a lot of pre-work to do, because for some of you, this Boundary Palooza has been the first time you've ever even been like, wow, this is a thing and I can learn it. Holy crap, you know? All right, this has been awesome. Well, you are welcome. Julia, thank you for everything you've offered us for free. I super appreciate it. I'm going to do the course. Right on. I love it. All right, so you guys, am I saying these other things that are on here? I don't know if I am. So just tell me. There's a pay in full bonus, 72-hour bonus. No, am I? No. All right, here we go. So I got to say, I've taken up of your time, so to speak. We're here to answer all your questions. Team TC is working on through the night for people who have questions. You need help. You're not sure what to do. You're not sure how to do it. Those of you that are joining now, you know that you're going to get immediate access to a bunch of stuff. When can we buy the course? Right now, man. terrycole.com/doit, DOIT. Someone drop it in there, please. Please do. Team TC. How do you not know? Do it. So I'm super excited for those of you. I can see a whole bunch of, I'm getting notices coming across my screen. There's a lot of you. Obviously, I had 3 people say, I missed it last year by 1 day. And I literally waited an entire year to join Boundary Bootcamp. So I want to welcome those 3 lovelies, because I know you are the first 3 in. You were like, oh my God, how did I miss it by 3 days? But you did, and now here you are. I have to think that this is divine timing. So if you're here and if you're on the fence, if you have other questions, feel free to send them in. We're going to be handling it. And we're going to be talking about this. I'm going to be going live. I'm going to be answering your questions live. So we've got, but here's the thing. If you really want the bonuses that I talked about on this live workshop, you need to join the course before 12 midnight tonight. So that special surprise bonus is only good until 12 midnight tonight. And then we're really taking it down, because I am really going to sell it on my site. So I want to say thank you so much. I so appreciate you. I hope that you've gotten a crap ton of value. That was my intention of all of the free content that I put out there for you, because I want you, no matter whether you can take anyone's course or not, to learn, to get healthy, right? For those of you who've been waiting for Boundary Bootcamp, here's your opportunity to do something for you. I'm sure that $97 a month could go for someone else in your life. You could figure it out, but you know what? You're worth it. Put your stake in the ground. If you want to breeze into 2020, your best, most confident self, having that be your year of really stepping up and showing up in the world as your most authentic self, then give yourself this gift. Please. You deserve it. You're worth it. I love you too. Thank you for saying that. Thank you for these free classes. You are so, so welcome. And I cannot wait to see you on the inside. So bye for now. And I will see you before you know it. Thank you for being here.